Do you ever stand in front of your fridge and just toss in everything from your grocery bags, thinking, well, at least it'll stay fresh in there? I used to do that every single week. Bread, tomatoes, even garlic. I thought I was being smart. Turns out I was just robbing my food, and myself, of flavor, texture, and nutrition. It wasn't until I bit into a cold, grainy tomato that I started asking questions. The fridge isn't a one-size-fits-all solution. Sometimes it's quietly working against you. Hey there, I'm Mr. Harris. I'm not a chef and I don't have a lab coat, but I've cooked enough meals in my life to know what works and what doesn't. For years, I thought the fridge was doing me a favor. I'd throw in fresh tomatoes, bread, and even garlic, thinking I was preserving them. Turns out, I was doing the opposite. They came out bland, stale, or even worse, bad for my health. As we get older, we need every bit of flavor and nutrition we can get. So today, let's have a real conversation about something simple but powerful. How changing where we store certain foods can make us feel better, eat better, and maybe even live a little longer. We all love our fridge. It keeps our milk cold and leftovers safe. But here's the thing. Some foods just don't belong in there. They lose flavor, they lose nutrients, and sometimes they even become harmful. As we get older, every meal matters more. A cold tomato or a moldy potato might not sound serious, but it adds up. When your body needs real fuel, you can't afford to lose it on the wrong shelf. Let's unpack what's going on. The first, potatoes. Let's start with one sitting in almost every kitchen right now. Potatoes. Good old-fashioned spuds. Most folks think popping them in the fridge will make them last longer. I used to think the same thing. I'd come home, put my groceries away, and toss the whole bag into the bottom drawer of the fridge, thinking I was doing the smart thing. But let me tell you, it backfired. When potatoes get cold, something strange happens. Their starch turns into sugar. Now, that might sound harmless, even helpful, right? Wrong. When you cook those sugary potatoes, especially when you roast, bake, or fry them, you create a chemical called acrylamide. Acrylamide has been linked to cancer in several studies. That's not just a small side effect. That's a serious red flag, especially for us older folks who already need to be watching what we eat more closely. I remember making home fries for breakfast one weekend, pulled them straight from the fridge, cooked them up with a little oil and onion, and something was off. They tasted sweet, but not in a good way. The texture, kind of gritty. And they didn't brown the same way they usually did. That was my wake-up call. And it's not just about acrylamide. The cold air in the fridge encourages moisture, and potatoes don't like that one bit. Moisture can lead to mold, softness, and even rot. Plus, if you've ever seen a potato with green skin or sprouting eyes, that's solanine. It's a natural toxin, and in large amounts it can cause nausea, or worse, not something we want in our system. So what's the better way? Easy. Store your potatoes in a paper bag inside a pantry or in a dark cabinet, somewhere cool but not cold, and never next to onions. They give off gases that make potatoes spoil faster. It's one of those small shifts that pays off big. You get better flavor, longer shelf life, and fewer health risks on your plate. Now, here's something that hit home for me. A neighbor of mine, Linda, was trying to eat healthier and cut back on waste. She thought refrigerating potatoes would help them last longer and save her trips to the store. But after a few weeks, she noticed more of them were going bad faster. Soft spots, that musty smell, even sprouting. Once I told her about storing them in a basket in a dark pantry, the difference was night and day. No more waste, and the taste came back too. It's small decisions like these that add up. When you're cooking for one or two, you want every meal to count. And trust me, a creamy mashed potato or a golden roast tastes way better when it hasn't been cold sabotaged. So the next time you unpack your groceries, give those potatoes the dry, cool resting place they deserve. The second, tomatoes. Now let's talk about tomatoes. Yep, those juicy red beauties we all love. You slice them up for sandwiches, toss them in salads, or just enjoy them fresh with a little salt and pepper. But here's the mistake many of us make. We toss them in the fridge as soon as we get home. It feels like the right move, right? Keep them fresh and prevent spoilage. But actually, refrigeration does the opposite. When tomatoes are stored in cold temperatures, the natural ripening process comes to a halt. They stop developing flavor and sweetness. Instead of becoming richer, they become dull. Their texture changes too. They turn mealy, kind of mushy, and lose that firm juiciness we love. I bit into one from the fridge once and thought something was wrong with my taste buds. Nope, it was just cold damage. And if that wasn't enough, there's a nutritional cost too. Tomatoes are packed with lycopene, a powerful antioxidant that's especially beneficial for heart health and for supporting prostate function in men. But chilling them breaks down that lycopene, so not only do they taste worse, but they're less nutritious too. That's a lose-lose for anyone, especially us seniors who are trying to eat with purpose. My neighbor Joyce told me she used to refrigerate all her tomatoes. Then, one day, she left a few on the counter by mistake. A few days later, she sliced one open and said it was the best she'd had in years, full of flavor, soft but firm and sweet like it's supposed to be. That little accident changed her storage habits forever. So here's what I recommend. Store your tomatoes at room temperature, stem side down if possible, and away from direct sunlight. If they're very ripe and you need to slow them down, you can refrigerate them, but let them come back to room temp before eating. That helps recover some of the flavor. It's a simple trick, but it makes a world of difference in your meals and your health. I also learned that putting tomatoes next to apples or bananas speeds up their ripening too fast. Those fruits give off a gas called ethylene, which can make your tomatoes spoil before you're ready to use them. So now, I keep my tomatoes on the kitchen counter, spaced out on a plate, away from other produce. It takes just a little bit of effort, but the payoff is huge. You get tomatoes that taste like they were grown in your backyard, sweet, juicy, and packed with nutrients your body needs. And when food tastes better, you're more likely to eat well. That's a win for your heart, your digestion, and your mood. So give your tomatoes the warm, sunny spot they deserve, and you'll notice the difference with every bite. The third, onions. Let's move on to onions. You probably use them in just about everything. Soups, stews, stir-fries, you name it. They add depth and warmth to a dish like nothing else can. But storing them in the fridge? That's where a lot of us get it wrong. Now I get it. Your fridge feels like the safe spot. But here's what happens. When you put onions in the fridge, their natural starches turn to sugar. That messes with the texture big time. They get soft, almost slimy, and start sprouting a lot sooner than they should. And sprouted onions, they've already started losing nutrients. One time, I grabbed half an onion I had stashed in the fridge. I was planning to use it in some homemade chili. But when I cut it open, it smelled like leftovers and felt squishy. Ended up tossing it. Total waste. Plus, the fridge is a moist place, and onions don't like moisture. They start to rot quicker and can even absorb the smells of everything else in there. If your onions start smelling like last night's spaghetti, you know it's time to rethink your storage. And if you've got a sensitive stomach or digestive system, sprouted onions can be a problem. They might cause bloating, gas, or other issues, especially for seniors who already have to be more mindful of how food affects their bodies. Here's another trick I learned the hard way. Never store onions next to potatoes. Potatoes give off gases that actually make onions spoil faster. I used to keep mine in the same basket. I didn't realize that was speeding up the spoilage. So what's the better option? Store your onions in a mesh bag or a paper bag. Put them in a cool, dry, well-ventilated place like a pantry or a cupboard. Give them room to breathe. Little things like this make a difference. You waste less food and save money, and every time you cook, your ingredients taste the way they should. Fresh and full of flavor. And you know what else? Some folks with arthritis or joint pain find that eating spoiled or sprouted onions can make their symptoms flare up. It might not be the first thing you think of, but food quality really does affect how your body feels day to day. My cousin Frank had no idea his bloating and upset stomach were tied to onions until he started storing them correctly. Within a week he noticed a difference. No more odd smells in his stew, and he felt better too. So next time you grab that bag of onions, give them the kind of storage they deserve. A little air, a little space, and no fridge required. It's a small habit, but one that helps you cook better, feel better, and even save a few bucks along the way. The fourth, garlic. Let's talk about garlic. That little bulb has been a kitchen essential for generations. We throw it into sauces, soups, roasts, you name it. Not only does it bring incredible flavor, but it's packed with real health benefits too. Garlic has been praised for centuries for helping with everything from heart health to fighting off colds. But here's the catch. If you're storing it in the fridge, you might be ruining all that goodness. Cold temperatures in the fridge do something weird to garlic. They cause it to sprout early. And when garlic sprouts, its flavor changes. Instead of being rich and punchy, it turns sharp and bitter. You can still eat it, sure, but it just doesn't taste right. More importantly, it loses allicin. That's the powerful compound responsible for most of garlic's medicinal benefits. Without allicin, you're not getting the same immune support, anti-inflammatory power, or heart health boost. I remember roasting a tray of veggies one night and tossing in a few garlic cloves I had kept in the fridge. Big mistake. The whole tray had this weird, bitter bite to it. Ruined the entire dinner. Since then, I've learned the hard way. Garlic and the fridge don't mix. Another problem with fridge storage: moisture. Garlic doesn't like damp places. When exposed to too much humidity, garlic bulbs can start to mold or rot. They soften up, grow spots, or even start smelling a little funky. That's not what you want sitting on your spice rack or going into your stew. So what's the better way? Keep your garlic at room temperature in a spot with airflow. A mesh basket, an open ceramic pot, or even a paper bag works great. The key is to let it breathe. Don't seal it in plastic, don't cram it into the fridge, just give it space. And here's the best part: when stored right, garlic lasts longer, tastes better, and gives you all the good stuff your body needs. It's a small change, but one that makes your cooking better and your health strong. The fifth, avocados. Let's talk about avocados. Creamy, delicious, and packed with nutrients, they've become a staple for anyone trying to eat a little healthier. Whether it's mashed on toast, sliced on a salad, or blended into a smoothie, avocado adds a richness that's hard to beat. But here's where most people go wrong: putting unripe avocados in the fridge. Now, I used to do this all the time. I'd come home from the store and toss all my groceries in the fridge, including the firm avocados. A few days later, I'd go to use one, and it would still be hard, or worse. It would look ripe on the outside but feel rubbery and taste like nothing. That's because cold air stops the ripening process. It freezes things in time so that perfect buttery texture never develops. Avocados ripen best at room temperature. Leave them on the counter and they'll soften naturally over a few days. Want to speed things up? Put them in a paper bag with a banana or apple. Those fruits give off ethylene gas, which helps everything ripen a little quicker. Once an avocado is ripe, when it gives slightly to a gentle squeeze, you've got a short window to enjoy it. If you're not ready to use it right away, then yes, the fridge can help you buy an extra day or two. But even then, it's best to bring it back to room temperature before eating. Now for the seniors out there who only eat half an avocado at a time, here's a tip. Brush the cut surface with lemon or lime juice. That helps prevent browning. Then wrap it tightly or store it in an airtight container in the fridge. Avocados are full of heart-healthy fats, potassium, and fiber. They help with brain function, lower inflammation, and support blood pressure. But you only get all that goodness if they ripen right. So next time, skip the fridge and let them do their thing on the counter. Your toast, your salad, and your body will thank you. I also know someone who used to store avocados in the fridge straight from the store. She was trying to make them last longer for her weekly meals, but every time she sliced one open, it was either too firm or already turning brown inside. Once she switched to letting them ripen naturally on the counter, she noticed a huge difference. Her guacamole tasted fresher, her sandwiches had better texture, and she was no longer throwing away spoiled fruit. The best thing is that once you learn how to work with avocados, they become one of the easiest ingredients to manage. Just keep a close eye on them and use them at their peak. That little bit of attention can lead to meals that are more enjoyable and healthier. So give your avocados some time and space at room temp. Let nature do its thing, and you'll get all the taste, texture, and nutrition you deserve. The sixth. Bananas. Bananas, sweet, soft, and easy to eat. They're one of the most popular fruits out there, especially for older adults, but let's talk about what happens when we put them in the fridge. It might seem like a good idea to make them last longer, but the cold causes more harm than good. When bananas get cold, their skin darkens quickly. You might pull one out and think it's overripe or even spoiled, but inside, it's often still firm and starchy, not sweet or soft like you'd expect. That's because cold temperatures slow down the natural process that turns starch into sugar. Without that conversion, you end up with a banana that tastes flat and feels off. I remember once tossing a whole bunch into the fridge during a heat wave, thinking I was being smart, but every single one turned a strange grayish brown, and they tasted like nothing. It was a total waste. Since then, I've kept them at room temp and just eaten them as they ripen. If you want to slow the ripening a bit, here's a tip: separate the bananas from the bunch. This helps reduce the amount of ethylene gas they release, which is what causes them to ripen so quickly. And if they do get too ripe, don't toss them. Peel and slice them, pop them into a freezer bag, and use them later for smoothies, oatmeal, or banana bread. They still bring in a ton of natural sweetness and energy. Bananas are great for digestion, energy, and heart health thanks to their potassium and fiber. They're also a go-to snack for those days when you're feeling a little low on fuel. So skip the fridge. Let your bananas rest on the counter, maybe on a hook if you have one. They'll stay fresh, taste better, and give you all the benefits they're meant to. Your breakfast, your smoothies, and your body will be better for it. My friend Carla, who's in her 70s, used to refrigerate her bananas all the time. She thought the dark skin meant they were going bad faster, so she kept them cold to preserve them. But when I explained how the cold messes with the ripening and texture, she gave the countertop method a try. She couldn't believe how much better her morning banana tasted. Now, she even freezes the extra ripe ones for her daily smoothie. And here's another tip. If you travel or live alone and can't eat bananas quickly, just buy a few at different ripeness levels. That way you're not racing against time. A little planning goes a long way. The bottom line is, bananas are a simple and powerful fruit, but only when they're allowed to ripen naturally. Keep them out where you can see them. Let them tell you when they're ready. Your body and your taste buds will thank you. The seventh, uncut melons. Now let's talk about melons. Watermelon, cantaloupe, honeydew. These juicy, refreshing fruits are a summertime favorite and honestly a year-round treat. But here's something a lot of people don't know. Whole uncut melons should never go straight into the fridge. That cold air we trust so much? It does more harm than good before the melon is sliced. You see, melons continue to ripen after they're picked. At room temperature, they naturally develop sugars and deepen their flavor. But once you put them in the fridge too early, that ripening process slows down, sometimes even stops. What you're left with is a melon that looks ripe but tastes watery and bland. The texture can go grainy too, not exactly the kind of mouthfeel you want when biting into a slice of watermelon on a hot day. I once bought a beautiful cantaloupe and chilled it overnight, thinking I was prepping ahead for breakfast. Cut into it the next morning and disappointment. No sweetness, just cold and flavorless. I've never made that mistake again. And let's not forget about nutrition. When chilled too soon, melons can lose important antioxidants like beta-carotene. For older adults, those nutrients are especially important. Beta-carotene supports vision, skin health, and your immune system, things that matter more and more with age. Melons are naturally hydrating too, which makes them perfect for seniors who may not drink enough water throughout the day. Eating a few slices is not just tasty, it's helping your body stay balanced and energized. Here's the best way to store them. Keep whole melons at room temperature on your counter or a cool shelf. Once you slice them open, then yes, pop them in the fridge in a sealed container. And if you want to keep them extra juicy, lay a piece of plastic wrap directly on the cut side before sealing. Just give them the time and space to ripen properly. Your taste buds and your body will thank you every time. I've heard stories from folks who swore off melons altogether, thinking they just didn't taste like they used to, but once they tried letting a melon ripen on the counter for a few days before chilling it, their opinion completely changed. It's not that melons have lost flavor, it's that we've been rushing the process by sticking them in the fridge too soon. And really, the reward is worth the wait. A properly ripened melon can make a simple breakfast feel luxurious. It's refreshing, flavorful, and full of the natural sweetness your body craves, especially in warm weather. So if you've ever been disappointed by a dull slice of cantaloupe, try giving it some time next time. Let it breathe, let it sweeten, and then enjoy it at its best. The eighth, bread. Let's talk about bread. Warm, soft, comforting, it's part of nearly every meal. Whether it's morning toast, a lunchtime sandwich, or something to soak up a hearty bowl of soup, bread is just one of those foods we all rely on. But storing it in the fridge? That's where many people go wrong. Now, I know the logic. You want it to last longer. Maybe you live alone or just don't go through a loaf very fast, so you stick it in the fridge to keep it from molding. But here's the thing. Cold air doesn't keep bread fresh. It speeds up the staling process. It causes the starches in the bread to crystallize, making it hard and dry from the inside out. Even if it looks okay, the texture is off and the taste isn't the same. I remember pulling out a slice of my favorite whole grain bread from the fridge one morning. I took a bite and thought, did I buy this a week ago? But it had only been in there for 2 days. It was dry and bland and the crust was soggy, not how bread is supposed to be. And for seniors, that texture matters. If your teeth are sensitive or your appetite is small, dry bread isn't just unappetizing, it's discouraging. We want to enjoy our food, not struggle with it. So what's the better option? If you'll eat your bread within a few days, store it in a bread box or a pantry away from heat and sunlight. But if you know you won't finish the loaf quickly, slice it and freeze it. Then you can take out 1 or 2 pieces at a time and toast them straight from frozen. No thawing is needed, and the flavor stays intact. That little change keeps your bread fresher and longer. You save money and avoid waste, and every meal feels a bit more satisfying. Because good bread shouldn't be a gamble, it should be something you look forward to eating. A friend of mine, Paul, used to refrigerate all his bread because he was afraid of mold, but he noticed that he was throwing out more of it because it would turn rock hard or taste flat after just a day or 2. I showed him the freezer trick. Now he slices his bread as soon as he brings it home and only takes out what he needs. Not only is his toast better, but he hasn't wasted a single slice in months. These little lessons add up. When food tastes good and stays fresh, we're more likely to eat balanced meals and feel good about them. And that matters, especially as we age. Every bite should feel like a treat, not a chore. The 9th. Olive oil. Olive oil, it's one of those ingredients we reach for without thinking. A splash in the pan, a drizzle over salad, maybe a dip for fresh bread. It's smooth, flavorful, and packed with health benefits. But one mistake a lot of folks make is storing it in the fridge. You might think you're helping it last longer, but what you're doing is damaging its quality. When you refrigerate olive oil, it thickens up and gets cloudy. That alone can throw you off. I remember grabbing my bottle one night while making pasta. I gave it a shake and it looked like it had turned into wax. Took forever to warm up and pour properly. Not ideal when dinner's already on the stove. But the real issue isn't just about looks or convenience. When olive oil gets cold, condensation can build up inside the bottle. That moisture might not seem like much, but over time, it can lead to spoilage. Worse yet, it can make your olive oil go rancid faster, and nobody wants to cook with spoiled oil. Olive oil is full of heart-healthy monounsaturated fats and antioxidants. It's great for brain function, reduces inflammation, and helps protect your heart. But it only works that magic when it's stored correctly. If you keep it in the fridge, you're taking away from its natural flavor and potential benefits. My neighbor Linda used to keep hers in the fridge because she thought it would stay fresh longer, but after a few ruined meals and funky-tasting dressings, she made the switch. Now she keeps it in a dark cabinet away from the stove. And you know what? Her cooking tastes better and her oil lasts longer. The best way to store olive oil is in a cool, dark place like a pantry or cupboard. Use a dark glass or stainless steel container to protect it from light. And skip the clear plastic bottles. They don't block light and often break down over time. Treat your olive oil well and it'll treat you well right back. One last tip that's made a difference for me: buy olive oil in smaller bottles if you don't use it often. That way, it stays fresher longer and you avoid letting half a bottle go stale. Plus, it's easier to store in a cool cabinet where it won't get exposed to heat or light. It may seem like a small detail, but the way you store your olive oil affects how your food turns out and how your body benefits from it. Now that we've gone through all 9 of these foods, here's the part that hits home. For years, we've trusted our fridge to protect our food. We've loaded it up thinking colder always means better. But for many of the foods we just talked about, the fridge has been doing the opposite, stealing flavor, nutrients, and shelf life. It's a little humbling, isn't it, to realize that habits we thought were helping might have been holding us back? But the beauty is that now we know better, and when you know better, you can do better. Making a few simple changes, keeping your tomatoes on the counter, freezing your bread, or giving garlic a dry home, can completely change how your food tastes and how your body feels. It's not about throwing out everything you've done before, it's about adjusting, growing, and choosing what serves you best now. A few small shifts can lead to real, lasting health benefits. Our daily habits say a lot about how we live and how we age, and when it comes to food, even small decisions make a big difference. If you've been refrigerating the wrong things, don't feel bad. You were doing what you thought was right. We all have, but now that you know better, you have the power to make smarter choices. That's the beauty of learning at any age. Think of your kitchen as your wellness center. Every shelf, every container, every choice can support better living. When you store your bread the right way or give your tomatoes a little breathing room, you're not just protecting food, you're protecting your health. Your meals taste better, your body feels better, and your days start to feel a little easier. You don't need fancy tools or a big budget to eat well. You just need the right information and the willingness to try something new. Let this be the beginning of smarter habits and a healthier you. Now that we've uncovered these fridge mistakes, I'd love to hear from you. Which one caught you off guard? Maybe it was garlic or bread or even olive oil. Leave a comment below and type "No fridge mistakes" if you learned something new today. Sharing knowledge helps all of us, especially when it comes to our health. And if this video made a difference for you, go ahead and hit that thumbs up. Then pass it along to someone you care about.